Sunday's game is the most anticipated game that I've ever seen in my entire life. Let me not understate how great that last night's game was. Even though last night's game resulted in a complete and utter blowout and complete utter domination of a team that I quite frankly have never seen before, I just want you to point this out, and I want you to think about this really quickly. Up until this game, the largest lead that the Indiana Pacers have had, the number one offense in the league, if you just look at the numbers, the number one playoff offense as well, and the number one offense if you post All-Star break, if you look at their numbers, and I'm talking about this is a team that has been absolutely dominating other teams' defenses. There's nothing you can do with them. This team has not only cleared my expectations, because I'm just going to be honest with you. This team, I didn't see them winning more than one game in this series. A lot of analysts and experts said they couldn't see them winning 3 games in the series. They have won 3 games in the series and forced a Game 7. This team has been that good. And this Thunder's team is not only one of the greatest teams of all time, point blank, period, but this Thunder team is so good that if you only look at net rating, you would think they were the greatest team of all time. Strictly based on how good they were in the regular season, because I just wanted to point this out. Every single team has faced adversity before in the playoffs. Every single team has lost games in the playoffs before. Even the Shaq and Kobe Lakers have lost games in the playoffs before. And I mean, at their very apex, they lost games in the playoffs. This Pacers team is so good and so underrated and has had one of the toughest, I do mean this, the toughest paths, not only to get to the finals, but to make it, and have won 3 games so far in the finals. It's impressive. The Pacers' biggest lead before this game was 11 or 12 points. They doubled it this game. That's how badly they beat this team. And I just want to point this out. The Thunder, based on defensive metrics, would be the greatest team of all time. Because if you look at the amount of points that they allow relative to the league that they currently exist in, they are smushing teams. You're not even getting a chance. They force turnovers at a historic rate. They had one of the best defenses I've ever seen against one of the best passers of all time. And mind you, this team can go big. They have 2 bigs that they can play at the same time. This team can go small. They can play no big. They can play Caruso at the center to guard Jokic. Jokic, an MVP caliber player in the postseason. They're having a guy who is 6'5" guard him. And that's no shade to Jokic. That's actually just because he perfectly counters his play style. And then on top of everything that I just said, this team has the MVP on this team. Not only is this MVP the most valuable player of this year, not only have they been having an historic guard season, the likes that we haven't seen since Michael Jordan and Steph Curry. This man is so prolific of a scorer that even if you take out free throws, he's averaging 28 points per game. That's one of the highest just point totals I've seen without free throws. It's ridiculous. And for the people pretending that, oh, Shai is a grifter, Shai doesn't get legitimate calls. There are going to be star calls. That happens with every single star. That's why they're called star calls. Don't know if you noticed this. But more importantly than anything that I just said about the star calls, Shai is poetic, truly, and I do mean this, poetic at how he gets to the free throw line. He is very calm and calculated about how he gets to the free throw. His whole demeanor is calm and calculated. If I'm Shai, though, going into this Game 7, I am shaking in my boots. Because I just had one of the worst games of my fucking life. Not only one of the worst games, point blank period, of any star player that's had this playoffs, Shai had by far the most turnovers of any singular player in this entire playoff run. In fact, I cannot recall a time a star player has had 8 turnovers in a finals game. I can't recall the last time it's happened in a playoff game. I cannot genuinely tell you the last time that happened. And Shai did have 24 points, at least, last night. But Shai also didn't close the game. There was no point at which this game was close, to be quite honest. It just never was. The Thunder never hit a run. And for the longest time in the third quarter, both teams went scoreless. And you might be saying, well, the OKC is a historically great defense. I can see how the Indiana Pacers might go scoreless. Both teams went scoreless for the first 5-ish minutes of the quarter. Think about that. After halftime, and by the way, the lead up into halftime was probably one of the most entertaining 2 plays I've ever seen from back to back from a player, because Siakam absolutely baptized a player who just had 40 points the previous game and is by far one of the best defenders on our team I've seen it in a while, because not only is he a versatile defender, he's big, athletic, strong built frame, and he can guard most of the centers you see in the NBA, especially ones who don't know how to keep the ball up. Because if you don't keep that ball high, he's going to rip it from you. He can guard guards, small forwards. He can guard guards, forwards, and sometimes even guard centers. That's insane. Not only is that crazy and insane, I'm talking like actual centers, 7-footers. None of this small ball nonsense. Real centers. This guy's prolific. But last night he couldn't guard Siakam. Siakam posterizes man so badly that I would like to make and coin a new term in the NBA. I would like to call this the folding chair effect. It is when you get dunked on so hard that they play a real life 2K animation on your ass and you get folded up. This is also what I'm going to pioneer as calling the stand back up effect, where a player can get dunked on, and unless they're physically hurt from the dunk, a la Jason Terry's back slamming onto the ground, or John Collins when Anthony Edwards actively victimized him, where he was so injured he didn't come back into the game after that moment, and I don't think he played many games after that. No. This is the get back up immediately, because everybody knows it's an unwritten rule in basketball. When you get dunked on, you get back up and get back on defense and act like that shit did not happen. Because otherwise, it'll be the highlight of a century, and nobody wants that to happen to them. Yeah, so Siakam posterizes this guy, and then after doing that, the Thunder get up a shot. It's absolute basura from Shai. Actually, I don't think they get up a shot. I think this is one of Shai's 8 turnovers. He had 8 turnovers. They were forcing Shai to give the ball up. Shai had moments where he looked good, but they were forcing that ball out of his hands. And if that happens in Game 7, wallahi, brother, you're going to get slandered to hell and back over NBA Twitter, over actual media. And I'm not going to lie, depending on how you perform in Game 7, and also considering the expectations for you to win a championship this year when you won those 68 games, the same way that I was telling this team, and they actually faced injuries, and this same team, that this was unacceptable of a loss, I am going to torture you the entire offseason with this nonsense of you thinking that so calm, so cool, so demure, all of that bullshit. You have to win this game. This is the biggest must-win game for a star in a long time. Biggest must-win game for an MVP in a long time. Because the last time I've seen an MVP going on a run to the finals, they won it. And Jokic dominated the entire way through. So there wasn't really a must-win game for an MVP in that season. In 2018, when Harden had the Warriors against the wall, Chris Paul was injured. These were must-win games, but everyone can look around and give context and be like, well, if Chris Paul doesn't get injured, who knows how that series goes, right? And he was playing against the actual greatest team of all time. No, not based on any statistics. Based on, I watched the fucking games and I knew what they were doing to teams, and there was nothing you could do about it. It was so bad that niggas at the beginning of the season, all the way to the end of the season, were like, honestly, Did any of it matter until they hoisted the championship? Because this is what we knew was going to happen. It was that bad. Niggas said they ruined basketball. Not NBA basketball, not playoff basketball, basketball. They said they ruined basketball. I know people who quit basketball because KD joined the Golden State Warriors. I don't just mean they quit. I don't just mean they quit around the same time. They quit because this nigga played basketball. They thought that shit was so fucking lame. Evan Turner, a former NBA player, said, look, no disrespect whatsoever, that was the lamest shit ever. And I could not agree anymore. I couldn't possibly agree more. That was the lamest period of basketball. And by the way, all of that led to this era where we haven't seen a repeat champion. We haven't seen a champion make it back to the conference final, their respective conference finals, after winning the championship, after hoisting up the Larry O'Brien. None of those teams, and yes, I know that has something to do with losing assets and stuff like that, but even the Boston Celtics, who retied, who came back with literally everyone, and I know you want to say, well, they had injuries. They were still losing to the New York Knicks before Tatum got injured. They were, in fact, losing to him in that game. They had coughed up multiple 10-point plus leads in 2 games back-to-back in Boston. I don't care. I don't care, and I'm not giving you bail for that. That was embarrassing, and you should feel embarrassed. Anyway, regardless of all that, because that has nothing to do with the NBA Finals and why this is the most anticipated game of my lifetime. Because I genuinely don't know who's going to win this Game 7. I know you're saying, well, you should know who's going to win any Game 7, right? I mean, Game 7 means both of the teams have won 3 games so far, and it's a best-of-7 series. First of 4 is who wins the series, right? I don't know. Because I would like to say Indiana has all of the momentum right now, right? But that just might be it. This might be the last game that they play like that. Who knows how they play in a Game 7? Halliburton's injury might flare up. And they were preparing to play the game without him. That's what sources were telling us before we went into the game. I don't think this came from Shams, but we were hearing a lot of chatter like they're preparing to play the game without him, which he is their offensive engine. Now, Siakam is their defensive generator, and Jesus Christ, that guy forces turnovers like it's nobody's business. He's going to win Finals MVP if they win the series. Don't be surprised. As far as what I saw from him in the New York series, I think Hallie should have won the respective award, the Larry Bird Award, which is for the best player during the Eastern Conference Finals, and then the respective award for the West would be the Magic Johnson Award, just in case we were unclear. But yeah, I thought that should have gone to Halliburton, in my opinion, especially because of the performance in those games. It wasn't just the stat totals that I saw, but just based on Halliburton has that. First of all, I know Halliburton had a game winner in this series. I know Halliburton has also had as many 0-point games in this series. So multiple games under 10 points. I think we can safely say it goes to Siakam. Just for his performance out all of these games, like it's just been crazy. And he's not like you can say, well, Siakam doesn't have these moments either. Siakam has moments where you're like, yeah, I don't know. By the way, just really quickly, the reason I'm so hyped for this team, if they win a championship, even though they knocked out my team, is because this would be I would have witnessed at the bare minimum, the second greatest Rick Carlisle run that I've ever seen in my life. Mind you, Rick Carlisle was the coach of the 2011 Mavericks, and we already know the run they went on. They beat the Heatles, they beat the team that would eventually go represent the West Finals next year in the OKC Thunder, as young as they were. They beat the defending champion Kobe Bryant Lakers, and I can't remember the last team they played out west, but I don't think it was the Spurs. I'm not sure who else they beat. I could look it up, but look, I think those 3 teams are more than impressive enough. And if the Thunder lose this series and the Pacers obviously win because the Thunder lose, right? They'll be beating a 64-win Cavs, a 68-win Thunder team, and the team that was absolutely dominating a 60-plus win team. Handily. Because they beat the Cavs in 5, they beat the Bucks in 5, and then they would beat a team that is all-time great. And I mean, like, yeah, they won the games, but like if you actually think about it, they are all-time great level team. in the finals with the reigning MVP. That's how good of a team they would be. That run is hard to top. I don't know what to tell you. Like, and before anyone tries to put an asterisk on a championship that neither team has won yet, let me just go ahead and give you some context really quickly. None of the injuries that you're about to talk about are something we haven't seen before, or more importantly, something that mattered to the series nearly as much as you think because of how badly both teams were dominating the other team, especially in the case of the Indiana Pacers. Just want to point that out because, yes, I understand that they beat the Cavs team and they dealt with injuries. The way that we're beating the Cavs team and the way that the Cavs gave up a game to that game winner, yeah, I don't know if they would have beat them regardless of health. I'm going to be honest. And also, they were dominating these teams on the road, so you can't exactly expect this to go much better. And if you want to talk about Dame's injury, during that series, he had blood clots before the series. We didn't even expect him to play, and more importantly than that, all the statistics allude to the fact that this team is actually better with just Giannis and not Dame, which is terrible and sad because they're paying him $40+ million a season. And they gave up a piece that allowed the Boston Celtics to win a championship in their conference. But that's neither here nor there. This would be one of the greatest runs, just period. I think this run will be talked about for a long time, regardless if they win, simply because they pushed them to 7 games. If they win, this will be the toughest run I've ever seen in my lifetime. And if not, the second greatest run of all time. I'm not sure OKC has everything it takes to beat this team. And I'm not sure Indiana has everything it takes to beat this team either. These are both really great teams. And if you're going into Game 7 wondering what you should do, you should stay away from gambling. Because betting on either one of these teams to lose, or betting against either one of these teams to lose, is paramount to but if you like this video, like, comment, subscribe, and if you watch all the way through, definitely like, comment, subscribe. Tell me about what you want to hear from me or what you might not want to hear from me ever again, and those are the videos I'll make.